This is part 2 of our discussion on the cult of the normies. To complete the episode, we suggest you watch part 1 first, if you haven't seen it already. So, next up is how a cult controls the very thoughts of its members, and I thought this one was going to be hard, but it turned out to be pretty easy. And first off, instill an us versus them mentality.
Oh, wow.
Right? Let me count the ways.
Yeah, please. There's quite a bit here, actually.
Yeah, well, like, in terms of, let's just start with work, like, almost every company has some kind of rival company that if you go work for them, it's considered a betrayal.
Correct.
In school, there's the idea of a rival school. Political parties, it's everywhere in normie society. Hell, we do it. We do it. NEETs versus normies.
Yep. It's easier to acquire an audience if you create a common enemy, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see it all the time, especially in politics, where you basically call the enemy like the incarnate of the devil.
Yeah, you call the enemy evil, and then say we're not that. You have to against that.
We're anti that,
Yeah.
And sweeping generalizations like that typically gather a lot of attention and a lot of people.
What a lot of these us versus them preachers don't realize is that the enemy is often far more. You have far more in common with the enemy than you think.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes these people are just kind of looking for reasons to hate the outgroup.
And it's also a way of like preventing people. We were just mentioning this, but it's a way of preventing people from realizing, oh, wait a minute, the enemy is really no different.
Let's see. Use loaded language and cliches to stop complex thoughts. And
there's definitely corporate lingo.
In religious cults, it's like just pray. Don't think about how what we're preaching is weird. Just keep praying. But in the cult of the normie, it's cliches like hard work is its own reward, or money is the root of all evil. Those seem like they apply.
There's definitely corporate lingo as well that goes in here.
Right. Weasel words like the phrase government handouts to demonize people who take benefits that are freely offered by the government.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. Loaded language, that would be what that is. Never mind that mega corporations get billions of dollars in handouts and bailouts for disasters that they engineered, but no normie ever complains about those things. It's always like the welfare beneficiaries that are leeching off of this country. Kind of related to that, induce hypnotic or trance states to indoctrinate. And a lot of people might disagree with this, but I can't think of any better example than the Walmart song.
Okay.
This idea of this practice of corporations like creating songs for themselves was a lot more common many years ago, but things like singing together are proven to have an indoctrination effect on participants. It's why in America we say the Pledge of Allegiance.
It creates some degree of solidarity, right?
Yeah, creates a solidarity. There's some kind of like dopamine hit that you get when a lot of people sing or chant in unison with each other.
It's the same thing as what is it? Team building exercises.
Yeah, I totally forgot to mention back in the education episode the Pledge of Allegiance, but we're going to say it right here now, and that's the Pledge of Allegiance is something basically no other country does. Not even like the most dystopian countries like China have a Pledge of Allegiance in their like classrooms, right?
Interesting. That's something I didn't know.
Yeah,
because I believe every country has a anthem or whatever it is, right?
There are anthems, and yes, they do play the anthems at, say, sporting events. But you're not forced to go to a sporting event, right?
You're also not forced to sing the anthem.
That's true, too. And I think a lot of countries have like a credo, I guess, maybe like a phrase that they want to say when they want to kind of rally that patriotic spirit. Oh, well, like core values. A lot of companies have what's called a core value, stuff like that.
We we have those, and we definitely don't follow them.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, the core values are there to look good. I guess when it comes to things like core values, apply or allow only positive thoughts. And the best examples I can think of are like, why aren't you smiling, employee? Aren't you happy to work here? You should be happy to have a job with company.
Smiling friends.
Smiling friends.
You're supposed to be smiling.
Do you have any examples or just
Um, I can't come up with any straight off the bat, but I definitely know like a lot of times if you're not like happy and actively showing how happy are your company will be like they'll enroll you in like company counseling.
oof, oof. I've never heard of that, but I bet it's a thing.
It is for bigger companies.
I guess you were talking about the whole if an employee is unhappy with their job, they're a security risk, that kind
Yep,
of thing.
there's definitely that.
Yep. And then finally, reject rational analysis, critical thinking, and doubt. And it's not so much that these things are banned, even if sometimes they can be, but these thoughts are often just dismissed out of hand or twisted into some sort of positive.
These thoughts I've seen with without a shadow of a doubt, this gets people uh like ostracized. It's like, "Oh, you don't like my boss's idea. Well, then screw you."
Yeah, don't question what your manager says, stuff like that. Don't one time I complained to my manager about how I wasn't even going to have time to get home and sleep before I had to come in for another shift, and she just like, "Oh, well, you're just a substitute anyway." Stuff like that.
Unless you're absolutely in love with every idea ever, they have a tendency to push you to the wayside, is what I've seen.
Absolutely. Yep. For the parts of thought control that I couldn't really think of any examples, you have change identity or name. I can't I mean, the closest thing I can think of is sometimes you have like an employee ID number, but no one ever refers to you as the ID number.
What is it? Play 67896.
Yeah, that's I can't say that's entirely far off, but even in like Amazon warehouses, which is probably like the most dehumanizing job there is, they don't even do that.
I can think of a couple more in different countries.
There is I've heard it as a joke, but I don't know how true it is where it's like the customer service employee in India is often given a Western name. I've heard of that, but I can't say I know anyone who was like made to change their name for a corporation.
You say that now I just can't think of I can only think of an an Indian man saying, "Hello, my name is Stephanie."
Where they get like the wrong gender name. That's funny. Let's see. Teach thought stopping techniques to prevent critical thoughts. Can't say I've ever heard of this or seen it.
I think most businesses prefer critical thinking. They don't like you asking your boss what to do every time.
That's true too. Well, critical thoughts would be like trying to point out contradictory things. Like oh, you said I had all this vacation time, but when I apply for it, you deny it. Something like that.
I mean, that's not necessarily liked when you do that because people don't like to feel like the bad guy, but
Exactly.
I don't think that's unique to jobs.
Yeah. And then in the last point, this is something a lot of religions do. Use excessive meditation, singing, prayer, and chanting to block thoughts. And some corporations in the olden days would pretty much literally write hymns to themselves and their corporate overlords, but it's not so much a practice I see anymore.
So actually, I haven't had to do this in work, but I had to do this in sports when I was in college.
Sports. Yeah, actually, yeah. Singing the school anthem during like a pep rally, I could see that.
Chants before events.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Okay.
Granted, it was always really fun when we did it, but I guess that's part of the point.
Yeah, those are more like to get you riled up and hyped up for the game. It's not exactly like, um, instead of thinking about how much you don't want to do this, just, pray to the corporate god or whatever. Pray to Jeff Bezos.
Pray to the Omnisci.
Yeah, pray to the Omnissiah. Well, the Omnissiah is the one true, god. The moment I discovered the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me.
I freaking love that line.
That is actually pretty based.
The last time I got, like, cut at work, I said that.
Did you say it in front of someone?
I just said it in front of the new guy, and he just gave me a weird look because he's a little older, so he wasn't prepared.
Oh, that's funny. It's even funnier when you say something like that in front of a normie. Did you say it in like a robot voice?
I don't have the robot voice, so I just
Oh.
said it like myself. It was just like the very moment I realized the weakness of my own flesh. It disgusted me. And I was
Oh,
looking at
that's
my hand
funny.
and I was like bleeding all over the place.
Oh man, that's funny. Oh, and and finally we
Just
come
saying, you
to
gotta let that drop. Just gotta say it one time at work. Trust me, you won't regret it.
the problem with my current work is it's one, it's not a place where we're going to get hurt very often, and two, I often like work alone basically,
Mm.
so there's no one to like talk to and say it to. And finally, we come to emotion control, or how does the cult control your feelings and emotions? And first, we have instill irrational fears of questioning or leaving the group.
I don't think that it's been induced by the job, but I definitely have fears in leaving my job. I worry that I'm not going to encounter a place as good as where I'm at right now. I say good, but I guess the word is I'm going to encounter a place worse than where I already am.
Right. The fears of the normie cult are usually pretty rational, like how will I provide for myself and my family, or what will my friends think of me if I quit my job and pursue my art? What if I fail? Will I be homeless? That kind of stuff. But that is used to control us, to keep us loyal and obedient, I think.
Because that in itself is not cult like behavior. That's what I would call borderline responsibility, but it's how it's used that can be.
Right. Yeah. It's not the feeling itself that's bad. It's being used as a tool to abuse you that's bad.
Hmm.
In line with that, promote feelings of shame, guilt, or unworthiness. So wages who don't work hard enough for the company or meet their quota are treated to things like this.
I definitely have encountered, like I mentioned this a couple weeks back, where kind of like I've definitely worked and just done nothing for hours, and I feel bad about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think here I am playing armchair psychologist, but I want to say that was kind of indoctrinated into you. Furthermore, normies are kind of indoctrinated to believe that certain jobs, like fast food, are shameful to work, despite the fact that if there were suddenly no fast food workers, a lot of dumb normies who don't know how to cook would be in a lot of trouble.
It was actually my dad who instilled this in me.
Uh huh.
He said like you never want to be a busboy and you never want to be a fast food worker
Yeah.
because so few of those skills transfer. It's like, oh, you can take orders, well, so can literally everybody else.
Right. Well, my dad would. I'm just gonna say he was straight up abusive, and he would tell me like, "You better practice your saying, would you like fries with that, boy?" Because when I like wouldn't do well on it's funny, but like I was a little kid and it was fucked up when I like wouldn't do well on a test. He would say like, "Oh well, you're just gonna be a ditch digger, I guess." So one of the ways that my dad would like shame uh people who are like quote unquote low skill is we would actually drive, and he would abuse me in doing this. This is kind of real, but I think it bears saying here is that we would drive by like construction sites, and he would say like, "Say hi to your future coworkers," as a way of telling me that I was going to be worthless when I grew up.
That's a
So
little messed up.
that is pretty fucked up, but that is like that is like one, it's an abusive psychopath abusing his kid, and two, it's heavily indoctrinating that normie mindset, right?
Hmm.
Um, And for the record, I'm nice to all of the fast food workers, even if they make a mistake, because I know the way I see it is minimum wage, minimum effort.
I don't want them spitting in my puppuccino.
Yeah. Let's see here. Threaten friends and family. I think this is usually kind of indirect, but I once recall reading that in interviews, some companies will give priorities to people who have families because those people in the end will be easier to control because they have people depending on them for support. So it's never a we'll come after your wife situation, but it's like, oh well, I guess your kids are just gonna have to starve. Something like that.
I've read something slightly different from this,
Really? Okay.
where they'll target housewives and moms because they're used to doing all the housework and expecting to like having those high expectations for themselves,
Hmm.
and having others rely on them. So a lot of times, and it's kind of messed up, but the psychology behind it is basically a lot of times they will take on more of the work.
Oh yeah.
They're kind of just expected to do it, and they will do it oftentimes without complaining about it because uh, they're expected to, perform it.
Yeah.
And typically, it's just something they think they need to do as the housewife esque.
Interesting. I've definitely heard the story of like people who were hired for a certain duty and then were kind of like wrestled into or roped rather into performing other duties. I think you're actually facing a lot of this.
I'm I've taken on 3 additional duties and only getting paid for 1 additional duty from what I
Exactly.
started with.
And this has kind of happened to me where I would sign on for a part-time position, but then they'd work me full-time anyway because hey, you're available, right?
Mhm. Part of me believes that this is a side effect of the times where it's just
Mhm.
impossible to hire somebody right now
There's
because,
that.
I mean, I do understand we don't have anybody to fill, like, certain departments, so, yeah, of course, they're gonna take people that they have to fill those departments, right?
Right, but they could at least compensate you for doing more work.
Yeah, they could at least pay for it. So, yeah, there's the double-edged sword.
Yeah. Next, teach that there is no happiness or peace outside of the group. And this kind of links back to the whole work for me or you'll be homeless thing. We're told that the only path to success is following the normie narrative and that no other way is legitimate.
Yeah, that's where the grass isn't always greener kind of statement comes from.
Right, right. But sometimes it is.
Yeah. In fact, I've heard quite opposite from it, where it's basically like the only guaranteed way to improve your situation is to leave, right?
I've heard
Bec-
that too, where yeah, it's people who like work their way up the corporate ladder on average make less money than the people who hop around to different corporations. I've definitely heard that.
Yeah, the people who hop from place to place, they know what they're already making, so they know what to accept
Uh-huh.
if it's more. Whereas getting a raise is not necessarily guaranteed.
Exactly. And then finally, shun if you disobey or disbelieve. And the best one I could think of is like, you should be happy and grateful that we were so kind to give you that job or to have a college degree, etc., etc.
Um, I think that that's just a society at whole kind of thing.
Yeah, well,
I guess that is normies, right?
yeah, if you don't fit into society, you are shunned. If you are somehow unusual.
Hmm.
My mom has mentioned this a couple times, and that what she says is people who have been employed traditionally their whole life don't understand like the idea of being self-employed because she and my stepdad work together on their own business. Like they own an HVAC business and work together, and apparently normies don't even necessarily understand the concept of being self-employed. It has to be under some corporation.
I can't think of it, but there was something really funny about this.
All right.
It's so annoying. I had something to add, but I don't know what it was.
Oh well. Maybe I'll remember it in a minute.
Hmm.
So some aspects of emotion control that might not apply are labeling some emotions as sinful, worldly, or wrong. I suppose like disgruntlement with work is considered not something desirable for work, or disgruntlement with education, stuff like that. Teach emotion stopping techniques to prevent anger or homesickness. Um, what is I did kind of just think of one for this one. What is the deal with like the happy boxes in the Amazon warehouses? What are those?
Happy boxes.
They're like some kind of mental health timeout box in the Amazon warehouses. Have you seen those?
If it's what I think it is, it might be a box that basically shoots like UV rays so people get sunlight, which has been shown to improve moods.
Possibly. Like, the impression I got was that you could, like, if you were feeling overwhelmed, you could duck into this box.
The Amazon box,
Uh-huh.
uh, mental health box for warehouse workers,
So if you're feeling, like, bad about your job, you can just
where
duck into this box and it'll
employees can watch videos on mental health and right mindful practices.
oh my god, this is exactly what it is. Just duck into this box and stop being disgruntled with your job.
Yeah, walk in there and feel at peace. Even though, make sure you only do it for your 5-minute break.
God, that's so dystopian, my god. Like, just take your Soma. You'll feel better. And then finally, shower you with praise and attention, aka love bombing.
Yes and no.
Best example I can think of is like if they
Mm,
choose to celebrate your birthday and buy you a cake.
yeah, actually, that's something our business does. They don't. They just buy everybody. They bring like everybody a pie.
Okay. Love bombing is like let's see. How would a cult love bomb? The only example I can think of is well,
When you donate your life savings, and then everybody's like, "You did it. You no longer, you know, shackled by society. We love you." Things like that. You belong here now.
I guess I have trouble thinking of examples for this one, but that's why it's here at the end. I guess we've gone through the whole bite model. And you said you weren't terribly sold on the idea of normieism being a cult, but after we've gone through it, what do you think, Dexter?
Um, I definitely think like a lot of emotional control occurs,
Hmm.
but otherwise, I think that it's all just kind of makes victims of happenstance.
Hmm.
Like, it really just depends on who you're around
That's true.
versus normies specifically pushing this. Because I guarantee you, there are many non-normies who push it more. Hell, to a degree, I would say even to a degree that we are guilty of it to some extent. Not
I think so too. I think we're certainly guilty of a few things that we admitted it here that we separate into us versus normies.
hmm
And I mean in our defense, I don't think we really take that seriously. We just don't like it when normies tell us how to live our lives.
I think it's very easy to claim that they're a cult, but I'm not very sold on it per se.
Right. You can kind of take I guess as an argument against what the point I'm trying to make is you can kind of take almost any organization and break it down with the bite model and say, yeah, that's a cult.
Well,
Really.
yeah, it's like you can, with even the slightest bit of leads, you can frame anything any way you want, right? That's how people
Exactly.
make straw man arguments. They
Right.
take
Well, that's how like, oh, this person is a Nazi happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. It's like,
Uh,
"Oh, you happen to support this political affiliation? Oh, well, now you're literally Hitler."
yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it's both our show, it's half my show, so I'm gonna say, yeah, normies are a cult.
I'm gonna say, I'm not sold.
All right, that's okay. But would you like to walk us out, Dexter?
Oh gosh. Thank you for listening all the way through to the end. If you liked what you heard, you can help us grow in a few ways. We're still rather small and always trying to grow the audience. So if you have friends who might be interested in the neat work, let them know about us. Any boost to our signal helps, and we treasure every new subscriber.
If you're listening on Podbean, leave a like and consider downloading the episode. If you're listening on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, and leave a comment to help out the algorithm. It only takes a moment and you're helping out a lot more than you think. Take a look at the NEETwork Discord where all things NEET are discussed. When we've grown the NEET community some more, we plan on hosting some totally free events like watch parties, games, and whatever else we can think of. For now, the NEETwork Discord is a great place to get to know other like-minded NEETs, discuss culture and hustle, and share your dank memes. Alright, and with that, I think let's say good night, Dexter, and stay comfy.
Stay comfy, Theo.